So the other day I was driving the coupe out to the salvage yard, minding my own business. It was supposed to be a quick and easy trip. And as I pulled into the airport, which is where my light industrial zone lot is, the engine died. And I didn't think much of it because often I will run out of gas in this vehicle because I don't have a working gas gauge yet. And as I was coasting to a stop, I looked down, and there, to my surprise, I noticed the unmistakable glow of flames coming from the engine bay. So I did what any normal hot rodder would do in that situation. I jumped out of the car and proceeded to panic. Now, I didn't really panic because the flames looked pretty small, but I tried to move as quick as I could because I was pretty concerned that the flames were going to get bigger quickly. I had a rag in the back of the car, and so I used that to put out the flames. It was a small fire, and I noticed that it was coming from the fuse holder that comes off of the battery power that is supposed to prevent flames from ever happening, and apparently it did not do its job. The fuse holder must have had some sort of corrosion or something that was preventing the fuse operating correctly, and instead of blowing the fuse, it heated up to the point where it became so hot that the plastic of the fuse holder started to melt and caught on fire. So there I was, stranded at my salvage yard. Luckily, there was a lot of other supplies out there. There was not a lot of tools because I didn't put the tools in the back of the car because I didn't think I was going to need them. So I found a pair of scissors in one of the junk vehicles that luckily someone had not thrown away yet. And I used my knife to strip the wires. I used the scissors to cut the burned wires. And I used the scissors to cut a scrap piece of wire out of an old wiring harness. And I twisted the new piece of wire in place of where the fuse should have been. And that was enough to get the engine running again. And I made sure that the scrap of wire was not heating up, or that I didn't have a short somewhere else in the system, and started the car back up, let it run for a little bit to make sure I wasn't going to start another fire, and was able to drive it home and got it into the shop, which is where you see it now. And now we're going to do the important job of replacing that scrap piece of wire with a new fuse holder that will hopefully not catch on fire a second time. It's a different kind of fuse holder. And I don't know, hopefully this one will do its job. We won't know until we try. So stick with me. I'm gonna start the easiest access for me to get to where the fuse holder is actually underneath that front fender. So I'm gonna raise up the car, I'm gonna take off the front wheel, and then crawl on the ground, and I'll do my soldering of the new fuse holder from underneath. If I open the hood and try to work my way through the engine bay, it's not exactly the most ideal situation. So it's much more ideal to be lying on the ground soldering above my head, believe it or not. So here we go. I don't really want to mar up these nice chrome hubcaps, so I'm going to use a rag and a screwdriver to pop that hubcap off. This front suspension is from a 76 Chrysler Cordoba, and so by that time Chrysler had done away with their left-hand thread lug nuts, luckily. So instead of going righty-loosey, lefty-tighty, we'll just go the standard lefty-loosey. If there's any question, you can usually look for a little L stamped in the top of the lug stud. Always better to check before you shear off a lug stud. Some people would make fun of me for not having power tools, but we're old school around here. If you're gonna be old school, you gotta do it the old school way. Otherwise, you're just cheating. Okay, so now we're sharing the weight in between the jack stand and the jack. Most of the weight is on the jack stand, which is what we want, but might as well leave the jack in there. As an extra safety precaution, I'm going to pop the hood and put a light in there so that there's a little bit more light to work with. And then I'm going to bring the camera in and show you what I'm doing with my soldering. Okay, so here we are under the fender. Not cramped at all in the least bit. You can see this is the little scrap piece of wire that I put in to take place of where the fuse holder was. You can see what's left of the fuse holder right there. So what we're going to do is get rid of this scrap wire, and we're going to put our new fuse holder in place. We'll probably take out this electrical tape and get rid of this connection entirely. Put our new connection there, run it down, put our new terminal end on this side, and really the only other damage is this wire got burned, the insulation got burned. I believe this goes to my brake lights, but I might need to track that down. If it's relatively short, I'll replace that wire up to where it goes. If it's long on both ends, then I'll just solder. I'll cut this out and solder a new chunk, solder a new piece of wire in there. This will go away. That insulation got a little blackened, but it's fine, it didn't melt at all. This wire is fine. And this wire is fine. The starter is one of the gear reduction starters. The stock starter was a little too big to fit in there. Where I've got the steering shaft coming down here, it got in the way of that steering shaft. So I put in this gear reduction starter. And unfortunately, the ring gear has a tooth missing that was from the previous vehicle that this was in. And I didn't realize what role that plays in your starter functioning. But this starter, the casing of the starter has actually broken in half before. And it's aluminum, and I was able to weld it back together, and it's held ever since then. But I'm nervous of when the next time the casing of the starter is going to break in half. So I've been neglecting on taking this on a long trip like I've used to. So we'll get another terminal like this onto our new fuse holder. It's gonna fit on there. So that one will work. It's a lot easier to take the ends of these wires off with a wire stripper rather than a knife. But I'm glad that I had my knife on me at the time. And this stuff is gonna help prevent any corrosion inside that little crimped fitting. Don't need much. Plenty more on there than I need. Two wires going into one crimped connection. So we're going to be better off having those all soldered together. We want our new fuse holder to be long enough that it's not going to be stretched, but not so long that it's going to be resting on somewhere. can get damaged. Not quite sure how I feel about this new fuse holder having aluminum wires. That's not awesome, but the other brand had copper wires, and that one caught on fire, so we're gonna branch out to aluminum wires on our fuse holder. Okay, so now all of those 3 wires are soldered together. So this burned wire is the taillight wire, and there's actually another connection just this side of the firewall up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this whole wire out of there all the way up to that break by the firewall. It just makes sense to do since this one was damaged. It's best to have as few breaks in the wire as possible. Now my fuse holder is relatively easy to access from the top, from the engine bay. Okay, and now tracing that burned wire up to here. You can see there's the break before it goes this way through the firewall. So if we cut it on this side of that break, we'll be getting rid of an unnecessary connection. And on this side I still had heat shrink, so this is more official than my electrical tape insulation. But I don't have any more heat shrink. And living on an island, it's not like you can just go out to the store and get whatever you want. So electrical tape is gonna have to do. So there's our burned wire out of there. Here is our new wire. Make sure that that's able to be added into the harness without being stretched. There we go. And then we'll test everything out before we put it all back together. Ask me how I learned that lesson before. And we'll make sure that this new fuse holder is not getting extra warm or on fire. And then we'll put everything back together. So, we know it starts and runs, which is good. Because I don't want to run a vehicle inside a closed garage, because I heard that's not a good idea, I'm going to turn on the electric fans. I know that's the biggest draw off of this electrical system, and I can recharge the battery after I run the fans for a bit. But those fans running will tell me if this fuse holder is going to catch on fire or not. So that's what I'm going to plan on. So I've been running those fans for about 10 minutes now, give or take, and the fuse holder is cold, no warm, no flames. So I'm gonna put the tire back on, I'm gonna get the car back on the ground. That's something that I'm going to monitor in the future. After I've been running the car for a while outside, I will check the temperature on that fuse holder, make sure that we're not catching on fire. But other than that, I'm gonna say it's good to go. So there we go. Only thing left now is to take it for a cruise. But I'm going to wait until the sun comes up for that to happen. I remember there's one more thing I can do that I've been forgetting. I've had to go to a car show and I had broken a headlight accidentally. And the only headlight that I had that fit these buckets was a 6-volt headlight. So I've been driving around without the ability to turn on my headlights for more than a few seconds because I don't want to burn out the 6-volt headlight with the 12-volt system. So I'm going to put a new headlight in place of that 6-volt, and then tomorrow I'll be able to take it for a cruise and not worry about being too late in the dark. There we go. Both headlights are even. Both 12-volt, also important. And my eye still lights up. We'll give you a closer view at that just because I'm so proud of it. Look at that. Mad Eye Metal. There we go. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time at Mad Eye Metal.